talking to special guests, and I have one of them with me today. His name is Dr. Spio-Garbrah. He served in several ministries here in this country. He served as the Trade and Industry Minister, Communications, Education, Mines and Energy, and of course, he was Ghana's ambassador to United States and Mexico some time ago. He was also, or he is, former CEO of the Commonwealth Telecom Organization. Sounds like a lot more. He's going to break it all down for us, how he did it, how far he has come, and about the word that he may just, want to be president of Ghana. So you're welcome. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
How is the opposition, your opposition diary looking like?
Well, opposition in the manner of the Western-style democracy that we've accepted for our governance in Ghana. Basically, it's like football teams. You play some matches, sometimes you win, and sometimes you lose. And when you lose, as we've done, follow the December 2016 election, you go back to the drawing board and you look at what you should do differently so you can come and win again.
So what is it that you're doing, at the moment? How do you keep yourself busy? What is it that keeps you going? Are you talking
about me personally or the party? Then
you personally.
Oh, I have so many things that keep me busy. Among other things, I have a youth mentorship program where we go into secondary schools and universities and share with them our life experiences. I mobilize other professionals in different fields of endeavor. Some are public servants, some are industrialists, some are entrepreneurs of different kinds, some are professionals, doctors, dentists, lawyers, bankers, graphic designers, entertainment people, and say, let's go back into the secondary schools and let's supplement what teachers teach our students. The truth is that many of our teachers are very good in their subjects. So they may teach good geography, good French, good music, mathematics, but they don't have the experience of somebody who's worked at the Cocoa Board or State Insurance Corporation, or Talo, or Nestle, or Unilever, or Barclays Bank. And so there's the difference between what students are learning in the classroom, which is good, and what is happening in the real world, which is where they want to get to. So and invariably, they graduate and they find difficulty in getting work. So you know you have an association of unemployed graduates. And not too many people are doing anything about it. We all recognize it as a problem. And most people are just talking about it and not doing anything about it. Now, I like to solve problems, so I'm doing something about it.
So in your opposition days, this is basically what you're doing?
Well, I've been doing it for 10 years. So it's not just because we are in opposition. But even while as a government minister, I was encouraging the staff of the organization, because I'm chairman of the company or the organization, the social enterprise, if you like, to go out and do those things.
Well, what's the name?
Very simple, ABCDE, African Business Center for Developing Education.
I see, ABCDE, that's interesting. That then gives you some time,
But I do some farming as well. My farm is just about 30 minutes away, so I spent most of yesterday on the farm.
Farming. What do you do on the farm?
17 years. Doing cashews, mangoes, pineapples,
but
oil palm.
You don't do anything on the farm. I can imagine. I
own the farm. I have to do something. I have to pay. Yesterday was pay day. I have to go and pay workers.
Okay, no, personally, you don't like weed or illegal labor.
If somebody can do the work better than I, that's about specialization. Okay. I can do the thinking, the planning. Somebody can weed better than me. Okay. Somebody can spray better than me. So I'm not going to try and substitute myself for other people who can do the work and get paid. It's a way of also helping people who are unemployed to have something productive to do.
Let's look at the NDC administration under which you served. What do you think went wrong?
I don't think anything went wrong. We served the country as well as we could. We provided probably the largest quantum of infrastructure that has ever been provided by any government in the history of Ghana, possibly even more than the Kwame Nkrumah government, except for the establishment of industries. Which
is that seriously a realistic?
No, you can go and do the calculations. Yeah, you can go and do the physical calculations in terms of numbers of hospitals, numbers of secondary schools, numbers of universities, numbers of or mileage of roads, bridges, port rehabilitation, airport rehabilitation. In terms of quantity and hopefully also quality, this government did more than most governments have ever done. Other governments did other things, for sure. But in terms of infrastructure, the Mahama government did a lot. Now, what the government did not do well enough was in the creation of jobs. The reality is that infrastructure jobs tend to be more short-term jobs. Right. So when you are building a house, you are building a school, you are building a bridge, the jobs for that infrastructure may be 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. But industrial jobs, that's what Kwame Nkrumah did. He established mostly industries. So there were almost 300 industries established that were state-owned industries under Kwame Nkrumah. When you find somebody working at Unilever or Accra Brewery, somebody has worked there for 25 years or 30 years in the same company, You find Nestle or some of these cocoa processing companies, somebody's worked there for 15 years, 18 years, 20 years. So industrial jobs, generally speaking, are longer term jobs than infrastructure jobs. So we did a lot of infrastructure, but the jobs we created were shorter term jobs.
So
people came out of those jobs.
Did the government know this
Well,
at
I
the
knew
time
it,
was
but
created?
I knew it because I was in the Ministry of Industry. But if you haven't worked in industry and you have not thought through it, you might not know it. It's not a subject that came up
Was
in
it not
the economic management team.
Would you say it wasn't well thought through?
Well,
Because if Kwame Nkrumah at the time, in his time, was able to have this foresight and look into the future of the people and created jobs that could last years, why then
But he
would
did
you
that,
not?
but he also lost out on the prices of consumer goods. I mean, no government is perfect. So even though Nkrumah created a lot of jobs, by 1965, 1966, Ghanaians were crying that they can't get sardine, they can't get milk, they can't get sugar, they can't get biscuits. I mean,
The question I'm really trying to get you to answer is why you did not, create the long-term jobs, for example, knowing very well that that could well be the solution to the age-old problem of unemployment.
We created a lot of jobs also, but through the private sector. It wasn't government-initiated jobs or the government-initiated industries, other than for such industries as the Commander Sugar Factory. The idea was that, but if you go to the Export Development and Agricultural Investment Fund, EDIF, which is now Export-Import Bank, and just ask them, over the last 8 years, from 2009 to 2016, give me the list of companies you invested in or you gave money in. That will be enough for you to know about the poultry farms, the oil palm processing companies, the shea butter processing companies, the coconut processing companies, the tomato processing companies that the Export Development and Agricultural Investment Fund, which is now Export-Import Bank, give money to. If you go to the National Board for Small-Scale Industries and ask them, dear gentlemen and ladies, give me a list of all the companies you supported and invested in during the Mills Mahama years. They'll give you a list. If you go to the rural, and that's what I'm telling you. They have all the statistics. We give this company so much for a poultry farm. The poultry farm said they will create 250 jobs. So now they may or may not have created 250 jobs. That's a private company. So you as a media person can go and check whether the loan given to poultry farm A actually created 200 jobs, 180 jobs, or 270 jobs.
You're asking me as a media person to go looking.
No, that's if you're interested in the subject.
Fair enough,
because
you're
asking me a question.
It's really fair enough. But what
the media do that also anyway.
I mean, one of the things that you were doing was campaigning, asking people to vote for you, give you another mandate to stay in power. So these are some of the figures that you perhaps are expected to have at your fingertips.
We had those figures and we're using them. The campaign is over. So we don't memorize these figures eternally.
Okay, so you don't have that figure.
No, I mean, not for this interview, but if you wanted me to prepare for the interview by saying, please come to the interview with how many jobs are created in poultry farming, how many in cashew farming, we would have given you the figures.
That's because we're talking about what they did not do or what they could have done more, what the administration and the which you serve could have done a bit more. Apart from
most other countries, there's unemployment in the United States. There's unemployment in the United Kingdom. There's unemployment, especially the southern part of Europe. Those countries are going through turmoil.
But we're dealing with ours here.
No, we're dealing with ours. But if you don't make it comparative, you make it look as if maybe Ghana is some island on itself, which alone couldn't create jobs. Look at almost 40% unemployment in South Africa, one of the largest economies in Africa. High levels of unemployment in Nigeria, 180 million people. So I'm saying that unemployment problems are global, but as long as you have any unemployed people, they are bound to be frustrated. They can vote against you, they can organize against you. And so we had our share. Is one of the many things that would have caused that defeat. One of the many things that. No defeat is one reason.
So inability to perhaps create the needed jobs, and then what? If you can list them for.
As you would have liked.
Not as many.
There were also some frustrations within the party, as there are in every party. Even in the current government, there are people going around saying, they have not been taken care of. Have you seen those people who are raiding
that's something
and closing?
We'll talk about, but let's deal with NDC.
Yeah, but I'm saying
when you were in power, so that we don't mix it up, so our viewers can have a better.
It's very important to appreciate that these things are not unique to any party.
Very well, but I want us to deal. I mean, like, let's deal with yours, and then later on I can have you, speak to us about your thought about what's going on at the moment. So, in the NDC administration, for example,
I think there's a contributory report out there which some of you in the media claim to have copies of and are serializing. And of course, those whose names you mentioned also come out and complain, hey, I'm not really the one, I'm not in the report, or the report didn't say that, or prove that the report say that. Nevertheless, without having a copy of the report myself, you can sit in your room and appreciate that in almost all elections, among the things that often go wrong are organization. communications,
Can we be specific
research.
with yours, with the NDC?
Well, I'm saying that I don't have a copy of the Gosibochi report.
No.
So if you ask me to tell you, it will be speculative.
No, sir, in your opinion. In your
Well,
opinion,
and I'm giving the answers. I'm giving the answers.
Please.
I'm giving the answers. I said, first of all, there are global factors that people haven't taken into account, but I was using those global factors to remind you that the whole global economy was on a downturn. China, which had been the basis for the rapid growth of the global economy, was not buying and manufacturing as much as before. As a result, the entire global economy went down. Countries like the United States were growing at 1%, 2%, 3%. European countries were growing some negatively, below 1%. And African countries mostly were doing below 3%. And so Ghana also had this growth come from 9, 7, 8, down to about 3. So that's the global part which people tend to overlook because we don't live as an island by ourselves. Fine, so that was global. Then number 2, you come inside Ghana itself, you have challenges with the decision to invest more in infrastructure than, let's say, in industry, which would have been longer-term jobs. So every government has to take decisions. That's the decision that was taken, and I'm saying the result of that is that we provided probably among the biggest number of infrastructure projects that has taken place in Ghana's history for a long time. I don't think any government since Kwame Nkrumah built more than maybe 100 secondary schools, but I stand to be corrected. If Kufuor's government built 100 secondary schools, or Rawlings's government built 100 secondary schools, or Champion's government built 100 secondary schools. But under John Mahama, there were over 100 schools built to different levels of completion. So that's just an example, hospitals and all that. But those jobs, as I said, were shorter-term jobs than jobs that could have been longer-term. So people got jobs, but after 1 or 2 years, they were back looking for another job. And then they get frustrated, and then they might not vote for you. Number 3, organizations within the party itself, according to what we know, a number of parallel structures.
What your opinion is, sir? I think you said based on what we know. Is it?
No, but I cannot have just an opinion which is not based on some evidence or some facts.
That this, what you're saying, has nothing really to do with the Kwesi-Botchwey report, so that we can tackle the Kwesi-Botchwey.
No, I can't have an opinion on my own. I have to have an opinion based on some facts which will be similar to what anybody else goes to find out. My opinion can be from, with all due respect,
so you mentioned
from the moon.
You mentioned frustrations. You mentioned the decision between, that is, infrastructure versus industrialization.
And I said organizationally, there were a number of parallel organizations that were created. People who supposedly meant well. So they said we are the ladies for Mahama, or we are the youth for Mahama, or so and so for Mahama. And what we understand, because I don't have personal evidence of it, this is when you say, what is your personal opinion? I didn't see money being given to those groups to go and campaign versus money to the party to campaign. But the party is saying we didn't get some or most or all of the money. And the money went to other groups, which also meant well, but they're not part of the official party structures. So there were some conflicts and tensions between these groups and the party executives who may feel, well, if the money doesn't come to me, then I can fold my arms and watch. But above all, NPP did not win the election, as you may imagine, but NDC lost it because some nearly 900,000 NDC people that should have voted for NDC and who did vote for NDC in 2012 chose not to vote in 2016. Now you'll have to go to those people to find out what their reasons are. I can speculate as to what I think their reasons were, which are some of the things I'm sharing with you, different levels of frustration over whatever they were. They didn't vote for NDC. So that also made a difference. Then in the communication area, there are lots of discussions as to the extent to which we did proper research, opinion polling, how we selected our messages, whether our messages were forward-looking enough or were backward-looking enough. So for example, if we tell most Ghanaians that look at the wonderful schools we've built for you, look at some of the bridges we've built for you, look at the hospitals we've built for you, people might say, yeah, okay, fine, you did that. And that may be taxpayers' money you built for us. But we didn't spend as much time saying what we shall do for you when you vote for us for the next 4 years.
Okay.
Whereas others came and said, well, if you vote for us, we shall give you 1 district, 1 factory. If you vote for us, it's more forward-looking. Some were doing
on what you have
sloganeering, as I call it. They had beautiful slogans, which they are finding difficulty in implementing, as you must know. And you can say you can come to that later. It was easy to make those 1 village, 1 dam, 1 fisherman, 1 canoe, 1 district, 1 factory, 1 this, 1 that.
Which some of you mocked anyway.
Yeah, it's all from the Chinese who had the 1 belt, 1 road policy and program for the last 5 years. And somebody must have gone there. There's nothing wrong with that. They can tell it. But the Chinese came up with 1 belt, 1 road, certainly before any 1 thing, 1 that from Ghana. So on that basis alone, one can say yes. There's nothing wrong with copying anybody or imitating.
Copy and make it better.
Well, fine. They say imitation is the best form of flattery. we hear. So If they imitated the Chinese and it worked for them,
so there were obvious issues there that you had to deal with as a party.
The coalition system of NDC, we all know, didn't work well in terms of on the day of the election also, how to collate your results, how to send them to central locations, and then announce internally what you've collected. There's no question that NDC didn't do that successfully.
Speaking of which, I'd like for us to have a chat about the Kwesi Botchwey report. You say you have not seen a copy of it?
I think all people in the media are struggling to get copies of it. Some claim they have a copy, but you have ministers in the Mahama government who are alleged to have been mentioned in the report, who are saying they're going to take legal action to get copies of the report. So if ministers in the Mahama government must struggle to get a copy of the report and use legal means, then that tells you how tightly sealed the report is at this time.
I believe that you have followed the serialization, of the report. I mean, some newspapers have done it.
Yeah. But there's always, everybody says they are fake reports.
They're fake reports.
That's what the party and
with the
its
issues, the
spokesman
sort of issues that have been raised in the report, and you being a part of the government, is there anything in the report that resonates with your thoughts, or what you must have seen?
Very good fake news.
Yes, true.
Is such that it will report that, depending on where you live, they'll report that so-and-so lives in so-and-so, she drives this car, she goes to work here. So everything else looks correct, except maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs which are not correct, which will twist it so that it looks credible.
Do you feel that the Kwesi Botchwey reports, which we have serialized,
going out with this guy on this occasion, and that part may be wrong, but everything else looks right. And so when you read it, it looks like as if it actually happened.
So the one that the media...
So there are things that are in the report that I'm sure imitate or mimic the truth, but then it's blended with other things that may not be entirely true, and then you, the reader, can't tell which is true and which is false.
Are you sincerely, truthfully convinced that whatever is included in this report does not really make it authentic?
Why should I say that? No. Of course not at all. Professor Botchwey is a very renowned academician. I don't think anybody will doubt his research activities, and he didn't do it by himself. There was an initial 13-person committee which was expanded to more than 30 people going around the country. All they did was to collate the statements and comments and observations and opinions and accusations and recommendations of the NDC members themselves. They did not create any new information. They just collated the information, summarized it under different headings, and said, this is what people are saying. I was
actually referring to what's in the media, what's been put out there in the media. Is there any bit of it that
I have no means to determine the degree of authenticity of those reports. The party headquarters and those who may have copies of it are those who can read what they have on page 37, because these reports that are supposedly fake almost always mention a page number. So they take a page number 37 or page 43, and they can look at the official page 43 and say, well, this is not true. But I can't do that.
I find it a bit surprising that as a member that you were in the party and in the government, that you do not have access to this. What's happening? Is there...
You have to ask the party headquarters about that. They are the ones deciding how to manage the report. I have some views on how they could manage it differently, but as I said, I would rather share that with the party executives when I get the chance to talk to them about it.
You've indicated that making the report secret, etc., is bad for the party. How do you mean?
I don't say it's bad for the party. I'm saying that there are ways in which a report of that nature can be shared in different ways, and it's up to the party to reflect on the different options. You can have a précis, you can have a summary, you can have excerpts, you can have redaction, you can have editing of the report if you wish, and share some of those with different categories of people, if you wish. So those are all options that I would like to pray that the party executives are thinking about and seeing, if we do it this way, what are the pros and cons? If we do it this other way, what are the pros and cons? But keeping the entire document secret for eternity, that is going to be a difficult one.
That's going to be a difficult one to keep for eternity. But why do you think they're doing so? Why is it a seeming great effort?
Well, I think the view I've heard is that people would say that, oh, our opponents will use it against us.
Okay.
Let's make it simple.
You don't believe that, obviously.
Our opponents will use it against us. At the same time, if you yourself, who has a certain illness, go to see a doctor and the doctor will not share with you the nature of the illness you have, it becomes difficult for you to cure yourself. So you have to weigh the two problems. You have taken an X-ray, but X-ray, they won't share the X-ray with you. You did a urine test and a stool test, but they won't tell you what happened in the urine test.
There's a school of thought.
Take this medicine.
Right.
I don't know why you're taking the medicine. It becomes difficult for you, the patient, also to cure yourself. So you have to argue on both sides and see on the balance, how do we get the patient only to see it without his relatives and his enemies at school or in the office also seeing it?
Right. There's a school of thought.
When you have a certain strange illness, the doctor may want you to know, but he doesn't want your co-workers also to know, who may use it against you or tease you with it. And that is where the challenge is.
There's a school of thought actually out there that the kind of information that's contained in this report will be extremely damaging to the NDC, and that is the reason why they are
I'm not sure it will be damaging to the NDC as a whole. It may be damaging to certain individuals in the NDC, yes.
Who do you think these individuals are?
I don't know. I don't want to speculate about it because I don't know whose names have been mentioned in the report.
Former President.
But I would imagine that anybody whose name has been mentioned specifically as not having done this or having done that which was negative will see it as something they may not want the rest of the world to see. And unfortunately, the party headquarters themselves have officers who may have done things rightly or wrongly, and who may also have had, so they may also not be, they have a vested interest in the report not being seen by others. So
these are all possibilities you're throwing around here. But persons like Dr. Omane-Boamah, for example, has been mentioned. Persons like Stan Dudley has been mentioned. Like you're saying, you have not had access, but the things that they are said to have done, does it resonate with your experience at the time you were working with them?
I have no basis to know what has been written in the report, and therefore what they
say
did.
That some monies were edited, monies meant for the...
You are saying it. I haven't read that. See, this is the point. I've not read that report, so I'm not able to agree or disagree with you.
You don't believe?
It's not a matter have you read the report? You said they say that, they say that. You haven't read the report yourself.
Yes, I've read the portion of it.
You've read a certain document that claims to be the report,
you don't think it
which you yourself cannot verify as being a report, because only Dr. Bocho can tell that, yes, this page 73 to 80 that you have a copy of is truly part of the report. And they've signed a narrative or something. I haven't seen it. I'm not sure what you've seen is the report. I can't deal with it.
All right. Like you said, it won't be a secret for, eternity. We'll definitely get to know someday. But let's talk about that. If you would rate the work of the NDC executive, the previous NDC executive, how would you rate them?
I wouldn't rate them. I wouldn't rate them on any news organization. No, not at all.
But you would rate them, in your own small...
I think the Congress or the elections that we'll have next year, where we are going through a reorganization, branch elections, constituency elections, regional elections, and then national party elections, will tell all of us what the party members themselves think of anybody who is standing for the elections. That is the only way to tell whether somebody did well or somebody didn't do well, according to party members. So I, sitting here by myself, have no capacity, no authority, and no ability to rate anybody. The party delegates will rate them.
You are a party member. These are your executives.
I agree, and I'm saying that the best way to rate people is to allow the electorate, just as we went to an election, and the electorate ostensibly didn't vote for us, and we are in opposition. In the same way that party executives who are interested in running again will present themselves, and the electorate will decide if they should come back or they should sit home.
Looking at persons who want to run again, before I even get to the persons who want to run again, what, in your opinion, could help the NDC put itself together? It appears that you are not very strong at the moment, if I'm right.
Oh, we are very strong. I mean,
you are?
Let me see the strongest party in this country. We have the largest mass following in this country. But when we do something that some of those people think is not good, then we lose a certain percentage of the votes and we are out of power. But in terms of the majority of the people in this country, we have been a mass party. The NPP and their precedents, whether I call them People's Front Party, PFP, or when they were Progress Party, or when they were United Party, have always been an elitist party, a party of suit-wearing intelligentsia. Kwame Nkrumah came and found them talking big English, went down to the ordinary people, had Vanna boys and girls campaigning for him, and just beat them at elections in perpetuity until they overthrew him using the CIA and the Ghana Armed Forces and Police. So if you leave NPP to themselves, they will not make it. But they've done a good job in the last 30 years of transforming themselves into an attempt to be somewhat closer to the ordinary person.
Okay, sir.
And so that's a very good effort they made to transform themselves. But by their own thinking, when they write that we are a property-owning democracy, that's what they describe themselves as.
So
that means we are coming to take over the... No, but that's important. You want to know how the parties are. And I'm saying, you come, they want to take over the accommodations in Airport Residential Area, Roman Ridge, and cantonments, and Laboni.
One of the things they told us, for example, in the report, the summary that, the Constitution report, the summary that we were given, indicated that there was some sort of reorganization to do. And the party itself has been very emphatic about the sort of reorganization that's needed. That's the basis.
No, reorganization, anytime you lose election, you need to reorganize. In any case, all the constitutions of all parties, including ours, require elections every so often. It used to be 2 years, now it's 4 years. I don't think there's anything. Let's follow the Constitution. Every 4 years have elections. Branch elections, of course. At the branch.
So if you were running the party, for example, is that all
and
you do in terms of reorganization?
That is what the party is doing right now. Between now, November, and end of January, we're going to have elections at the branch level. The branch level is the polling station. 29,000 polling stations in Ghana, so about 29,000 NDC branches. Everyone, elect your chairman, vice chairman, secretary, public relations officer, women's organizer, youth organizer. That process forces the party to reflect on itself, to see who didn't do their work well, and to put the right people in. Once you go through that refreshing process of changing the non-performers and putting in somewhat better performers, and you do it all the way from the grassroots all the way to the top. By the time you get there, you have a somewhat strengthened party, a bolder party, and look, you haven't had people deflecting or defecting rather from NDC to NPP because NPP have lost one election. Give me one name of any prominent person you've heard that.
So obviously
because
there's a strategy at this reorganization process.
He has joined NPP. No.
So obviously there's a strategy.
Kotoko beat Hearts recently, I believe. I don't think most Hearts supporters have become Kotoko supporters just because of that. So our supporters are on the ground. They may be, some of them may be unhappy, some will be disillusioned, but they are looking for leadership. They're looking for fresh thoughts and fresh vision. And if they see it and they can see somebody that they feel they can follow into victory, they will.
Are you one of those fresh?
I'm one of those, for sure, yes.
Great. Sounds very emphatic to me. The last time I heard you, you weren't quite sure.
I've never been unsure about whether I'm fresh or whether I'm new or whether I have the ideas or whether I'm capable. That has not been my issue. What I've said in the past, and I'm still saying, is that it is better for all those who could become leaders of the NDC or who may even have declared themselves as leaders of the NDC to focus on exactly what I've just said. Strengthening the party at the grassroots and letting us build the party to the top rather than beginning a premature fight over who will lead the party. On the grounds that I use the image of a car that has had an accident and the mechanics are now going to Koko Mpe and Abosokai looking for the usual parts for the transmission.
Do you think that's what's happening in the
Absolutely.
At the moment?
The process of changing the branch executive and chairman and organizer is looking for the parts for the car, looking for the mirror that has been smashed, looking for the engine oil, looking for transmission fluid. That is re-electing people at the branch level to give the party the strength it needs. Okay. Because at the branch level, people know who performed, who didn't perform, who was given a motorbike and used it personally or parked it somewhere and didn't use it, who was given some money and didn't use it, who still has T-shirts in his house that he didn't distribute. At the branch level, they have that knowledge. I don't have it.
When I asked about you being that visionary leader, whether or not you thought you were, I wanted us to talk about your presidential bid. How is it coming?
Yeah, but I was asking the question that, as to my knowing who I am and what I can do, I don't think I have any doubt about it. I've never been unsure of myself. Okay. As far back as 11 years ago, you may have been a young woman then, maybe you're in school. I was a contestant for the leadership of the party in 2006. So that's how far back I have made it known to anybody who is interested that I consider myself as one of a number of people who, by God's grace, has some knowledge, some training, some education, some experiences, some exposure, some passion for Ghana, and also commitment to NDC, and who, given the opportunity, can make a difference in Ghana's future.
How many other people do you see possess the same sort of experience, etc.?
I think they can come and speak for themselves. Okay, so I can only speak for myself, but there could be 5, there could be 10 contestants.
Right. So far, we know that former President John Mahama is likely to contest. We know
Has
that
he declared his interest to you?
I mean, we have heard. We've heard also about Alban Bagwin. We've heard about Professor Joshua Alabi, former Vice Chancellor, the UPSA. A few other names, including yourself.
Thank you very much.
You're ready to come up against these?
I'm not coming up against anybody.
I mean, in terms of...
I myself to the people of the NDC, the members of the NDC party, and eventually to the people of Ghana as someone who they can evaluate, they can consider, they can address, they can look at my life and determine whether this man has enough integrity, this man has enough experience, this man has enough common sense, this man has shown capacities and ability to solve problems in his previous occupations, this man has shown a passion and commitment to our country, and therefore we can entrust him with the leadership of the country. That is what it's about. The fact that others are interested in it, all well and good, because no one person is the sole solution to Ghana's problems. It takes teamwork. And so even if when you come as a leader, you must be willing to work with others. And I've shown a capacity to work with people of all kinds of backgrounds, all kinds of faiths, all kinds of ages, all kinds of demography, in order to achieve goals, not just in Ghana, but in many other organizations I've worked with and worked in worldwide.
Former President, John Mahama called you into the government, made you a part of his ministerial team.
Yes, sir.
If he, he's definitely going to, present himself as well, will that stop you somehow from presenting yourself?
My capacity to serve Ghana has nothing to do with other people's capacity to serve Ghana. I think I've just explained it. In 2006, when I was standing as a candidate for the NDC, most of the people whose names you are mentioning today, they were also alive. They did not present themselves at that time as individuals who were interested in leading the party. But if today some of them want to lead the party, that's fine. Competition is good for business. Competition is good for churches. Competition is good in classrooms. Competition is good in politics.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Competition is good on the sports field.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Did you once say that you were not really, that you wouldn't contest if you should know that the former president was going to contest?
And I wait for anybody who has a soundtrack that can be played to that effect. But I saw stories in the media, like I said, fake news. People may have been creating their own fake news and their own propaganda in order to satisfy some particular interest. Why should I make my ability to serve this nation predicated on anybody else's ability to serve the nation? When I came to serve as a minister, I left fantastic jobs in the international community. I didn't say I will come only if Mr. So-and-so is coming or Mr. So-and-so is not coming. I just came to serve the nation.
But you obviously feel you can do the job better than John Mahama did.
It's not a matter of feeling that you can do it better.
You believe so?
I believe I can do a good job as president of Ghana, not better than Kwame Nkrumah, better than Rawlings, or better than any other former president.
I'm curious to know. We have
I don't think the idea, they should evaluate me on my own capacity, based on my own experiences, and based on what I'll share with them as my vision.
What's the relationship between you and former President John Mahama?
Excellent.
So he knows about your ambitions?
We are very good friends.
He knows about
it's in the newspapers.
Did you have a personal chat?
He doesn't have to ask me to know my capacity.
So you got to know in the media?
I said I was a candidate in 2006. The whole world got to know. Weren't you?
Yes.
I'm sorry to say, you may have been young.
In 2016.
2006. Yeah, 2006. I was a candidate for the leader. Listen, for the 2006. 2006. You know, I was a minister in 1997, and he was my deputy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been his boss before, and he's also been my boss recently. But let's put issues of bosses around. We are good friends as individuals. 2006, I present myself as a potential candidate of NDC. 2016, we go to an election, we lose. 2017, as you see me sitting here, by God's grace, I'm alive, I'm well, I'm a healthy man, I'm happy, I have my potentials, I have my capacities. Why would any right-thinking person think that I could not or should not be a candidate for the leadership of the party? I was the vice chairman of the party. I was the director of communications of the party headquarters. I was the head of the communications campaign for Tamils. I've served the party in all kinds of capacities.
Have you had a friend?
I'm not going to disclose conversations I have with other people with regards to my political activities. I'm talking to everybody and anybody who
So you're saying that he got to know about your ambitions in the media?
You are speculating about it. I say I'm not going to report on conversations I've had with any number of people regarding my interest.
Is he happy about it?
When you see him, you ask him that question. Because you're asking me to report on his state of happiness about something. Only he can answer that question, with all due respect.
That he is?
I would encourage you to have an interview with him.
Okay.
One of these days.
Yeah, well, I'm still having a conversation with Dr. Spio-Garbrah. Like I said, he's worked in several ministries here in this country. He's worked internationally as well. And of course, he's made it clear he wants to be president of this country on the ticket of the NDC. As to whether or not he has had a conversation with his former subordinates and former boss, he won't tell us. We'll be back. I'm still having a conversation with my special guest, Dr. Spio-Garbrah. Obviously, he wants to be president, like I said. Whether or not he is fit for it, it will be up to the NDC and then Ghanaians to decide. So let's now focus a bit more on the NPP's administration so far. What do you make of it?
Well, it started on a very bad note, unfortunately. First day in office, swearing in plagiarism. It became a global bad story for Ghana. Not long after that, appointment of ministers. For the first time in Ghana's history, 110 ministers and deputies. A negative record. Also became news, global news, and the talk of the comedies, late night comedies on international news media. Then unfortunately again, the murder of innocent, captain, then promoted to Major Mahama, also made global news. So this government, as well-intentioned as it may have been, has been unfortunate in having a number of public events that were of a negative nature. Then, of course, you've had all the, oil contamination being sold here and there, allegations from NPP members of having to pay $20,000 in order to get an appointment with the president, corruption charges here and there, too many family members in government in different positions. All those things, I think, have not helped the party. I think the party's main challenge is over promising and under delivering. So if you're going to have a free SHS, for example, which on the surface sounds good, anybody who can get anything free will normally welcome it. But of course, nothing is really free because we as taxpayers all pay one tax or the other, which goes into a government coffers, which the government then can use to give us either a free road or a free hospital or a free school or whatever government wants to do. But the effect of the free SHS policy, first of all, there's only 20% of the budget that ostensibly or reportedly has been given to the schools. Now, they've already spent 20% of the time in school, so they need the other 80% sooner than later. I don't know when they'll get that 80%. So there's a serious potential crisis developing between headmasters, school bursars, and the government as to how do I manage the school when I'm probably being given just 5 cedis a day to feed the students, grown-up children, who are between the ages of 13 and 18, or even sometimes older in senior high school.
You worked
at the feeding them with 5 cedis a day. How are they going to balance it?
Before.
Right.
If you were to
but
be managing this.
we came up and we still have focused on free, compulsory, universal, basic education. The Constitution of Ghana says that education must be progressively free. The word progressively means that you make it as free as possible at pre-K, kindergarten, or primary 1. And then as the educational ladder goes, then the freedom may reduce. So the more free, 100% freedom in primary 1, maybe 95% freedom in primary 2, 93, primary 3, and then the degree of the freedom will reduce as you go up. So if you get to university, you may only have 50% freedom. That is the theory. So that if a child by any chance drops out after only 3 years of school, they've gotten 3 years of relatively free education. If they drop out after 6 years of school, they've got relatively free education. If they can get the full 9 years, which is the 6 years of primary and 3 years of junior high school, which is the basic education, then they get free compulsory universal basic education. At that point, they are 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and if they cannot continue senior high school, in theory, they've had the people of Ghana support them for the first 9 years, and they can then go into vocational technical or do something else for their lives. So if you forget the free compulsory universal basic education and go to the middle part of the educational ladder and make that part supposedly free, assuming you could even make it totally free, then it is to the disadvantage of those at the bottom who actually ought to get the freedom.
But
so Business and Financial Times, one of your
schools, even during your time, was still free.
Yeah, but we did it free, even though there were some occasions.
It has been free.
Business and Financial Times, one of your colleagues in the media, just less than 2 weeks ago, published a front page story that 75% of students in primary and JHS are paying some fees. when it ought to be free. That's over 3 million students.
They gave to that story was that there are people who are paying for school uniform or paying for examination material, so they're not paying for tuition, for example.
No, but what is it that at the senior high school, this government says it's going to be made free?
Is free.
So if a basic education student will pay for school uniform, pay for sandals, pay for textbooks or whatever it is they are paying, why should they be paying that a senior high school person doesn't pay?
Will not be paying.
That's the point. It's a very constitutional matter.
I think the focus on that, according to the NPP, the reason why they're focusing on SHS is that they want SHS to be the least level of education any Ghanaian.
But how do you get there when you couldn't pay your fees at the basic level, therefore you dropped out of school? Okay. How will you get into SHS? If you are a parent and you have to pay primary education, you can't afford it. How will your children complete the basic education in order to earn the so-called free SHS?
What would you have done differently if you were in
continue to focus on that free basic education.
Promised all Ghanaians that you're going to make it free, and everybody is talking about
it. No, but why should you make promises you can't fulfill? Why should you make promises that you don't have the budget for? They are not fulfilling it. They've only given 20% of the budget, and the headmasters are crying for it.
With every new policy,
and they only made the first-year students get the freedom. The second and third students are not getting it. And students in private schools who are also Ghanaian citizens, whose parents also contribute to taxes, are not getting any, even 10% discount because you are attending a private school. The government cannot have schools everywhere, and the private schools also are helping with education in Ghana. So the owners of private schools have come and held press conferences that you've read, complaining bitterly about this very unfair policy where unless you go to a public school or a government-assisted school, then you are being penalized, even though you are Ghanaian.
You want this, in your opinion, that this policy should be scrapped?
It was not thought through well, like many NPP policies. So it sounds good to the ears because everybody wants something free. And they lured Ghanaians into thinking that if they vote for NPP, they will do such free things, which when you look through eventually, you find that they are to the detriment of the country.
Should they stop rolling it out? Should they be scrapped somehow?
They can reflect on it, and since they made a campaign promise, I'm not sure they're going to scrap it. They're going to stick with it with all these difficulties, but it will be at the peril or at the detriment of a road that was supposed to be built that they won't build. It is a hospital nearby in the same community that will not be, it's the same government money. Government has only a certain amount of money. You can use all that money to build free hospitals. You can use all that money to build free roads. You can use that money to build free education. You can use it for any way you want. But at the end of the day, you need to balance the budget. And you need to allocate a certain amount of money to almost all aspects of the economy. The police need money.
Should you become successful with your presidential bid?
Yes.
And should the NDC win?
Yes.
If the NDC win, is this something that you're going to continue?
I will reflect. It's not, at that point, it will not just be a personal matter. There will be a party that I will be leading. The party will have structures. There will be consultations within the party as to what our manifesto should be, what our policies would be, and we will review this program alongside many other programs and see what will be the best for the people of Ghana. And we shall talk to Ghanaians also and find out, look, this is the government's total budget. How would you like it to be spent? If we give the budget of Ghana to you, Madam Makola woman, Madam Kokompe mechanic, Mr. Teacher in the classroom, please tell me of the following 20 things that a government can do for you. Tell me, if you were the president or a minister, how would you allocate the budget of Ghana? As you know, the budget of Ghana is 100 cedis, and the budget of Ghana is 1,000, because every parent, every father and mother have a budget in their home, and they allocate their money somehow. They spend some on rent, some on electricity bill, some on market, some on maintaining their vehicle. So most people have an idea of how to maintain a budget.
We spent a lot of time talking about free SHS. That's because, of course, education is very important, and you have been there as well. But let's wrap up with
one district, one factory, which people thought was going to be government-inspired factories or government. We find out it's just like your own project, your own private project. You just tell government, I've got this project, poultry project, poultry process. They're going to take it and brand it and pretend that it belongs to them.
I mean,
well, it's good for government. It's good. No, but we give hundreds of factories per district.
So you didn't name it that way.
We didn't name it that way. So that's why I said it's a branding and sloganeering government. They are good at sloganeering, which is not the same as implementation. We're waiting for them to see.
Assuming, without admitting that what you're saying is true, would that not create a sense of, create a sense of hope, about people that there's this thing that's going to be done, and people will work towards it, create the necessary
Let's hope they do. I believe you are aware when NPP under President Kufuor promised us a railway line from Accra to Ouagadougou. passing through Paga. I don't know whether you read.
No.
Again, that was MPP manifesto, MPP policy for 8 solid years. Would it surprise you to learn that they did not build 1 extra kilometer, not 1 extra meter of railway line in Ghana in 8 years? Would that be surprising to you? It happened.
Let's talk about
MPP did not add 1 kilowatt, 1 megawatt of power to Ghana's power situation when they were in office for 8 years. They did not complete 1 public housing project, 1 that you can get a key.
There's a new MPP administration.
So I'm saying that
now.
they are good at making promises and sweet talk, and Ghanaians will buy it. When you find out that, yeah, Mama Dada.
You're comparing the President Akufo-Addo to.
He was part of the previous government.
But he was not the president. But
well,
let's talk about what we're calling.
They shared properties among themselves in airport residential and cantonments, etc.
As
part of property owning democracy. I'm not in NPP. How can I get land that MPP are sharing among their ministers?
When the NDC became
NDC will not. I'm staying here, Kukubite. Rawlings, who was a president for 19 years, he could have allocated half of airport residential area to himself legally, because the president of Ghana under the State Lands Act can take any land that he considers to be in the public interest. That's why President Kufuor was able to give a government bungalow to a former minister, Jacob Echebilamte, and the court said yes, he has the authority to do it. So it may be legally correct, but morally and ethically wrong. Okay. Under NDC, no government minister dares to even think about going to take a government bungalow for himself. It won't happen. Okay. It won't happen at the Mills, it won't happen at the Rawlings, and I don't think it happened at the Mahama. But when you have a property-owning democracy as the philosophy of a certain party, then as soon as they come, they start looking for the so-called property.
There's actually this argument about the MPP, with what you are calling sloganeerism, that they're looking more towards social interventions. That's
sure.
Supposedly is mixing up their ideology, but that's not a debate.
No, I'm saying they've done a relatively good job of that.
Okay, but
just eating into NDC's political space.
Political vigilantism is something that
I've spoken against and I've written against.
We've been calling it political vigilantism because we're seeing a lot of groups coming up saying they're affiliated to this political party, they're affiliated to that political party.
No, the only party that political vigilantism has come out to present themselves, as far as I know, and you can tell me the other ones, are the invisible forces, the Delta forces, who have openly indicated their NPP adherence.
There's one in the northern part of the country calling itself Burma Camp as well.
And who belong to who?
I don't know. They locked up the school feeding program offices there in the northern region, for example.
This year, right?
Yes, this happened about 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah, all those who are doing those things are in the ruling party. It's only ruling party members who can even have the effrontery and the impunity to do it in their own government. And it's partly due to unemployment, the fact that they are frustrated, the fact that they were promised jobs. Under the Kufuor time, they were even asked to come and register. 1 million people came and registered under MPP. Supposed MPP members came and registered for jobs. Over 1 million of them registered, and hardly anybody got anything. So they also got frustrated. This time, they're not asking them to come and register, but the National Youth Organizer was telling them before the elections, when we win, take possession, take position, take possession, take position. These are all on tapes that you media people have played. So they're taking the possession. They're taking the positions.
How do you think we can deal with it?
Well, it is, impunity.
If you were president, what would you do?
They should disband them. Those who qualify.
We've heard from the National Security Minister, for example, that there are no registered groups, such registered groups. So
an NPP member of Parliament told the National Security Minister that when we wanted money for these vigilante groups, the National Security Minister at the time, didn't want to give us money. We, the NPP ministers, we had to fund these groups. So he has openly acknowledged and recognized that he and others funded these groups, so they know who they are. Weren't you in this country when South Africans came here to come and train some NPP people, and the NDC government had to send them back against a lot of brouhaha? These are the results. People have been trained for many years. This is the result of the Frankenstein monster that has been created in a laboratory. And when you watch these films, some very good professor goes into a laboratory, creates this animal or something, and then eventually the animal becomes crazy, breaks through the laboratory and runs amok all over town, killing everybody. And eventually the doctor is the one who actually gets killed eventually in the last show. Exactly.
But then what would you have done if you were president?
I would first not create such monsters.
Assuming it's been created, you are the president.
Well, you disband them. You disband them. You know where they are. No, look, we have Bureau of National Intelligence. Bureau of National Investigation, the same guys who can write reports when a Minister of Energy wants to investigate contaminated fuel. Then BNI within 24 hours to come and write a report that, oh, there's nothing wrong with that place. The man has done nothing wrong. Look, the police are being used, unfortunately, and are being politicized and are not being allowed to do their work. It's an unfortunate development for the Bureau of National Investigations. No, we are now using the BNI. Give me a BNI report. Used no, the BNI, NDC used BNI to cover up political, allegations against its appointees.
No,
never heard of it.
I don't have evidence to that effect. But if
I'm saying a minister, listen carefully.
Both the NDC and NPP has been
No, BNI is an institution of the police that has existed since Kwame Nkrumah's time. It's an institution.
No, you're talking about the police. I'm
saying BNI, Bureau of National Investigation, is a department of the Ghana Police Service and the National Security System.
So if
and it has its own. And I'm saying that organization should not be used for covering up activities of wrongdoers. If you do that, then it becomes difficult for you now to go against the real wrongdoers like these data forces or invisible forces, because your professionalism is being compromised. You are being asked to write reports to cover up political appointees whose acts should be sent to Shraj or serious fraud office or somewhere else.
Tell me what you do if you were president.
I'm trying to tell you that every president has numerous institutions under his control. You are the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. Your vice president is the chairman of the police council. The Bureau of National Investigations exists to investigate and to identify all those who belong to these groups. There are videos of these. These guys have come on video and said, if you don't give us jobs today, we'll come to Accra and do worse than we did in Kumasi. You didn't see that video? They are not hiding. And I'm saying there are members of parliament who say we have funded them. We funded them. So we know where we train them. We know where we fund them. They are telling me as president, you don't know how to go about finding these people. Then you don't need to be president. So you get out. Okay. If President Nana Akufo-Addo does not know how to find Delta forces and invisible forces, he does not deserve to sit in that chair. And you and others in the media, as friendly as you are to that MPP government, should tell them to get out and let some people come in there.
As friendly as we are to that government?
Well, some media people are friendly to the MPP government. And nothing wrong with it. People can choose.
The media just does its job.
So do your job and let this particular message get out.
I think the job is. I think that part of talking to you is talking to you is part of doing that job.
I appreciate that.
So let me finally finish this conversation, sir, by asking you about your thoughts. You have been a diplomat as well. What are your thoughts about what George A.C. Boateng, who is a representative in South Africa, has said recently about placing NPP, perhaps card-holding members, above every other Ghanaian?
It's one of the most unfortunate statements ever made by any public servant. You see, once the person accepted his appointment as a High Commissioner or as an ambassador, he no longer became merely or just an NPP member. He is an NPP member, that's fine. He's a political appointee, that's fine. Everybody understands that. But to make a statement of that nature, whether even privately, it's so unconscionable, because he forgets that the salary he gets every month is not from NPP headquarters. The residence of the Ghana ambassador, Ghana High Commissioner to South Africa, Waterkloof, one of the most exclusive neighborhoods in Pretoria, beautiful place, owned by the government of Ghana. The car that he drives is funded by the Ghana taxpayer. So you cannot go and say that I'm only here primarily to serve NPP members.
Quite frankly, people have
so
said
sad.
What he said is just putting words to something that's already happening.
It's not
something
happening.
That you
it's not happening. It's not happening. It's not happening. I have never asked anybody asking for support for, and I can invite you, NPP members as well as NDC members who got approvals for loans from public agencies that were under my oversight, because their membership cards were never sought. You help people who ask for help. And people come to my ministry, 20, 30 people almost on a daily basis with various kinds of problems. I've never asked them to show their membership cards.
When people who have helped you win power, for example.
There's nothing wrong with helping those who may have helped you to win power, but not to the exclusion. No, he says his primary job is to help NPP people. And another minister actually has also said, I don't want to mention the minister's name because I'll make a mistake. My minister has also said that public servants who are not NPP should be removed in Ghana's public service. This is not going to South Africa to help Ghanaians in South Africa who are NPP, which is what I believe the High Commissioner was saying. A minister of an NPP government this year has talked about people in the public service who are not NDC and who are not NPP, therefore they don't have the commitment. Listen, they said you don't have the same commitment. No, civil servants have not been trained. You see, this is the politicization of the civil service. That is the problem under this NPP government. Today, in the police service, almost everybody knows who is NDC and who is NPP. Ghana Armed Forces, which should be a very neutral body, ready to fight for the nation if necessary. Most people there seem to know, oh, this NDC, this NPP. It's one of the most unfortunate developments in Ghana. Our public servants should be neutral. Immigration officer, neutral. Somebody applies for Ghana passport, you don't ask him, are you NPP, are you NDC? No. Somebody applies for a job in a public service, you don't ask him, are you NPP, are you NDC? No. Somebody asks you for a visa, you don't apply, you don't say, are you NDC? It is not correct. And it should not be encouraged.
The presidency has yet to speak about this matter.
It's taking too long. This is the kind of thing that within 24 hours, a good president will come out and take an action for people to know that, yes, this man is really defending the people of Ghana. When you swear an oath at the Independence Square, you swear an oath to defend the people of Ghana, not to defend NPP or NDC.
The NPP's chairman, acting chairman, has come to back the comments
to support it.
But he has said that.
Well, that tells you the kind of party this is the kind of party that you have elected into your office. A party of renegades, of vigilantes, of political adventurers, of people who are just looking to butter the bread of their brethren and their, party supporters.
Let me end this conversation. It's been a great conversation, sir. I hope that you've had a great time and that the farming will go on. I should come to your farm for some of the.
It's a very small farm. It's a social service.
You can also help one district, one country.
We are helping to put food on the tables of Ghanaians. We're helping to promote Ghana's export revenues, to strengthen the city. We stand at a very difficult time in our country's history where we have just elected a government which within less than 1 year has made a number of decisions, comments from their party members, actions that I think are troubling the international community. West Africa is a very unstable region. It's seen as a very fragile region. Many of our neighboring countries have gone through very painful civil strife and civil wars. Safety and security of the people of Ghana are the #1 priority of any government. And at any time when judges can be threatened, not just by radio announcements, but physically in their courts, when policemen are made to run away. There was a video of a policeman literally fighting for his life. He could easily have been killed the way the major was killed in the Denchira.
They actually followed him. So,
but I'm saying
doesn't show what then happens.
We don't know. And I'm saying that when people think they can get away with it, and all those guys were on video, what action is being taken against those people who were chasing a policeman on open video? What action is being taken against those who came out openly and said, if you don't give us jobs in Ashanti region, we'll come to Accra and we'll do worse than we did in Kumasi. Even actions are not being taken because these are NPP people, these are the people who protect us. You are now the commander-in-chief of the Republic of Ghana. Okay. You are no longer a presidential candidate who may have been afraid for his own security, so you have to train a certain number of people to protect you, assuming that was even necessary. Right. Now that you are sitting in the seat, you must be seen to perform. And if you don't perform well, people will tell you that you are a one-term president, thank you very much.
And of course, people like former president was one of those, according to Ghanaians and how they voted, and you are hoping to be the next person. But you mentioned about 24 hours, the president taking action on the AC board taking 24 hours, for example. What action exactly? Reprimand him, try to distance yourself from his comment, or just sack him? People are asking for him to be sacked.
You are mentioning a whole range of options that any president has.
Okay.
You can choose any of them. It's better than doing nothing.
Right.
If people hear that, I don't know where he is now. If he's in South Africa and you recall him, even to Accra for a week of orientation, that's an action. If you you slap him and suspend him from office for 30 days, that's an action. There's a whole range of things you can do, including, of course, termination. But you have to make the judgment, because I don't know the entire range of things. He may have a good thing he's doing. There may be good parts about him. So you have to weigh the things he's doing that may be good with the statement that he's made that is bad. And if he's done a lot of very bad things, and this statement is the tip of the, what's the right word? The last straw that broke the camel's back, then he's off. But he's doing a lot of wonderful things, but he just slept and made one bad statement. Then there are other intermediate things you can do. But you got to do something, not just sit there and smile.
But when the former Deputy Communications Minister was involved in that $1 million scandal, it took some time for President Mahama to let her go.
Different presidents will work on different time frames, but I think eventually she did leave, right? So maybe in that case also they were weighing her strengths.
For 24-hour action.
And I'm saying, yeah, there are many actions you can take in 24 hours if you want. If you want to take the action in 1 week, or in 2 weeks or 1 month, it's up to you, the president.
So
I would be an action-oriented president.
an action-oriented president.
I won't waste time.
Sounds like a promise. Is that a promise you can fulfill?
If you put me in that chair, you see the kind of actions I can take.
All right. Well, we'll leave that to the NDC.
Thank you very much.
How they. So, how's the preparation like on the ground? Are you're campaigning on the ground? You're talking to people here
No,
and there?
I'm not campaigning. I am the campaign I have. No, I mean, if there's a campaign, it's what I'm talking about: how to reorganize the party and strengthen it.
You're doing that.
How to repair the car which needs spare parts. Yes, this interview is part of it. Okay. Going to the constituencies from time to time and helping our branches to get ready for their elections is part of it.
So I mentioned 4 people. Which of them are you most scared of? Or do you think will give you a run for your money?
That's an interesting
Professor
question.
Joshua Labi, Alban Bagman, John Mahama.
I like all my NDC friends. I respect everyone. When the time comes, the party will ask those who are interested to go and pick nomination forms. It may surprise you that somebody may be talking now. He may not even go and pick a nomination form. I don't know.
Okay.
So let's wait and see.
We'll wait and see, sir. Thank you so much for your time. I've been talking to Dr. Spio-Garbrah. It's been an interesting conversation, and I hope you enjoyed it. My name is Gifty Andopia.